So all of that comes together to be able to do so much more. And like we can be talking about real estate, but it's really about people. It's really about life. It's really about your dreams.
Vibe, your vibe, let it collide. Find your tribe where truth can't hide. So vibe, your vibe.
So today I have Liz Dawes of the Liz and Todd Fort Lauderdale Realtors team. And it's a Florida real estate strategist for over 30 years, helping buyers and sellers navigate the changing markets with clarity and confidence. So she's based in South Florida. She's also a photographer. Work emphasizes market psychology preparation, long-term strategy, particularly in fast-moving markets like Florida. That's Liz.
That's me.
That's Liz. So I'd like to jump in and talk about how we met. So we met originally because I was interested in photography, and Liz was somehow involved with the ASMP chapter in South Florida.
I was the president at that time.
Oh, you were the president.
Yeah.
And you had organized different events, and I showed up, and I was super interested in, learning how to do photography as a career. Found out that was very difficult.
Yes, absolutely.
And most of the guys that are doing it, but it was really nice because I got to meet people like Brian Smith, got to meet his wife. I don't know. Did you ever get to meet his wife?
I can't remember. Probably, if she was at the events, then most likely.
And, he'd come out every now and then, and he doesn't say a whole lot, but she's pretty animated. And I think she's like kind of like his stylist and whatnot. But even meeting those guys, it was very obvious that, he's so humble, and he was just amazing because he won the Pulitzer for the shot of Greg Louganis, if people remember, hit his head, and he happened to be there. And I guess to tie that, it was interesting that he went to school in Missouri at University of Missouri in Columbia. And
so there's you guys have that connection.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I haven't talked to Brian in a long time. The thing that I found interesting that, he's like, ask him about the Pulitzer, and he's like, hell yeah, I use that every chance I can, wouldn't you? But he's like, he goes, I don't know how much work that actually got me, but he goes, I definitely use it, and it definitely helped his career. But what was interesting is that, he does a lot of other things besides photography. I shouldn't say besides photography. He does things inside of the world of photography, but every person that I've talked to that to me is a pretty well-known name, like even Peter Hurley is who I took classes from to learn how to do headshots. They all end up going in different areas of photography to build an income stream to help them live.
Yeah.
There's very few people I know that actually all they do is photography, and that is it. They've got, brand endorsements. They've got classes that they've put together and they're selling. Yeah. They've written books. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of different things that they're doing, all under the umbrella of photography, but it's not just like one thing. And I guess I just remember the one coach that I had hired and worked with to try to kind of help me get over the hump. She just said, Carolyn Potts, if you ever are actually successful in photography, chances are you're not the guy pushing the shutter.
Yep. I introduced you to Carolyn.
Oh, is that how I got connected with Carolyn?
Yes.
Okay, so that's another connection.
Yeah.
So, and then real quick, I just want to acknowledge that. So before I knew it, and I met Liz, and then I come to find out years later.
Yes.
Years later.
When you came over for dinner.
And found out that you're Honduran. I didn't know that. And that you actually went to the same school that my wife went to in San Pedro Sula, Valle de Sula. Yes. And that's like crazy small world.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a nice discovery for sure. I remember it was like, it's like you were part of the family all of a sudden. That's very cool.
Yeah,
very
I know. Elena
world.
was like super shocked.
I know.
that she's coming over to dinner to somebody from Valle de Sola.
Yeah. And I even think that we didn't find that out until like we had dinner, we had cocktails, and it was like late at night that we came to that realization. I remember that. Yeah, that was funny.
I think probably just came out like, oh, where are you from? Oh, originally born in St. Louis, but grew up in Honduras. And you're like, Honduras?
Yeah. I just met somebody this, same thing actually, that we're doing some work. And I don't know, something about her she looked very familiar to me. And I said, where are you from? And she's like, oh, I'm from, you probably don't know, and she's like, Saba. And, and I'm like, what? And because she said the name of the town, she said Saba, there's this place. She says, you probably don't know. And I know
So she's
exactly.
from Saba or La Saba?
La Saba.
La Saba. That's
Yeah.
where Elena's father's from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been there.
So
it's nice.
it's a little country, but I think that just like Sicily, there's Sicilians all over the world. It's a place where everybody leaves and then they end up all over the place.
I guess so. I don't know. It's amazing. So yeah, Elena just went to, I guess they had a class reunion, her class for Valle de Sula this past summer.
Oh, wow. That's
and she
cool.
was able to go.
Yeah.
And that was a lot of fun for her. And they went around and connected with a lot of the different people there that hasn't seen for quite some time. It's always fun. She's got their, did you get added to the little chat? There's like a little chat going on.
Because I was in several schools, I think that I'm kind of an orphan student.
Yeah.
Because
I'll have to get Elena to add you in. Because I'm sure there's people in there that you know.
Oh, yeah. So listen to this. Right before I graduated from like sixth grade, right? Like you have a graduation on the sixth grade, and then you have another one like middle school, sort of. But at every one of those cuts, I moved. And so I ended up not graduating technically with any of those classes. So I kind of became...
That's okay. Elena so Elena went from there to EIS. And then her family moved to US.
Yeah. And that's where I graduated.
She went to another school.
From high school,
and then
EIS.
She went there only 1 year. And then she went to yet another school.
Yeah.
And then that's where she graduated.
Yeah.
So she actually went to, I guess, kind of like you, went to like 4 different schools.
Wow.
But she didn't actually graduate from Valle de Sula. She might have graduated 6th grade maybe. Not sure. Yeah. But I know she ended up going to EIS.
So I went to that class was Patricia, Ligia, Klaus, Ana Maria, Julissa, Fernandez. So, it's a very small...
So Klaus.
Klaus.
I remember... So we were looking... I'll have to share this with you. So we have a picture. I wonder if you're in that video.
I don't know.
Could be. We're looking at a video and Klaus was in that video.
Yeah.
Because I remember Elena's like, oh, that's Klaus. Because he's the blonde hair kid, right?
Nope, black hair.
Black hair.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a different Klaus. Is there more than one Klaus?
Not at the time that I was there. He was like the only,
But anyway, she's got a few videos that her dad took of a birthday party.
Oh, that's so
over
cool.
in her house, and they got all these kids running around.
Oh, I'd love to see it. I'd love to watch it. Yeah. So you know what? It's funny that we're talking about Honduras because, one of the things that I was so excited to meet with you and have this, do this is because I think that we're in a period of time where people are having difficulty making decisions in general, not just about real estate, but just in general. And it's because there's so much noise. And so being Honduran, right, and coming here, I came here with nothing. And I think that
What year did you come here?
1985.
Okay.
1985. So it forced me to be prepared, to evaluate risk, and to, make decisions that are going to impact the rest of your life. But I know that when it comes to real estate, how we connect that with real estate is that right now people don't miss opportunity because they don't have connection, because they don't have access, or not even because they don't have money. But more and more people are missing opportunities in real estate because they are not prepared. And so the market doesn't really care if you're not prepared. It really, it's because there's so many headlines, right? It's like right now, what's the question that everybody's asking right now about real estate? What have you heard?
Is this the bottom?
Yeah, this is the bottom, our interest rate going down. And so everybody's trying to time it, right? And I often say, think about this. If you're trying to time it, if you want to get it just right, where's it going? We call that gambling, right? Like you're kind of almost betting that something's going to be right.
You don't really have a plan.
Exactly. You don't have a plan. And so I'm excited to share with your audience about preparation and in the mistakes that a lot of people make in real estate because they're not prepared.
I think there's another way I would put that though, and it's an agreement with what you're saying. I found that the properties that I've sold throughout my lifetime, and I'm not a real estate guru, and I don't have hundreds of properties. It's under even 10. But what's interesting, so it's not statistical amount of data. But the thing is the properties where, I guess the way I would put it, I wasn't emotionally involved. So these are properties I wasn't living in. Those are the properties that always made the most money.
Yes.
And the properties I was living in were always the properties that I made the least amount of money. And
so
what I was able to get back out of that is I'm emotional about it. And I'm emotional about it because I'm living in it. And it's not just that I'm living in it. It's just the emotions of, okay, I've got all my stuff in here. Every day I'm here.
Yes.
And so I just think there's that tie. And I guess for different people, it might be different levels, but I do definitely feel like it's an emotional.
You're absolutely right.
Like there's anxiety associated with it. So you're not making decisions clearly based on the actual facts and numbers. You've got this big emotion arc in it. And for whatever reason, that causes people not to make good choices.
Bingo. So I love it because you just kind of laid that up for me so I could, do a slam dunk. So what you've just described is that you're waiting for permission, right? You're waiting for permission instead of, because most people, what they do is that they're thinking, okay, what's going on with the market right now? And they're always waiting, and there's always some fear behind it, right? There's some fear related to it. And they're saying, is this the right time? And it's always tied, that fear in that time. And so instead of saying, forget about what's going on in the market, am I prepared, right? So preparation instead of trying to get confirmation. By the time confirmation comes, the market, the opportunity has already gone by. And let me explain a little bit more. The cycles that we're on, they usually come every 10 to 15 years, meaning every 10 to 15 years, there's going to be a seller's market or a buyer's market. Like between 2020, 2021, house prices just went skyrocket, right? Here in South Florida. And by the time a lot of people kind of realized what was happening, it was already too late.
Right.
And
if you're a buyer, it's too late to buy in.
Yeah.
If you're a seller, well, you missed your opportunity at the peak.
And so what I want to point out, and if there's one thing that I would love people to know, is that opportunity, the best way for you to be able to take that opportunity and maximize it, like you were saying, that when you made the most was when you were not emotionally attached. You were making decisions based on preparation, on the logic. And I've seen this again and again, and not from the data, but I've seen it in the last 35 years on the market, is that no matter what the headlines do, people are still making decisions in the same way. And it's in a very emotional way, right? And so when emotion gets in there, what they're waiting for is they're waiting for the rest of the market to say, it's okay, it's safe. So that safety, actually, by the time you feel safe, the opportunity is gone. Yeah. So then what the antidote to that is be prepared. Prepared people are always going to win over people. You can have money, you can have a lot of things going on, but preparation is always going to be rewarded at a higher level. And that's what you just described. So, you basically illustrated one of the things that I wanted to talk about today. And so I talk about the big picture. I know that yesterday when we had a little conversation, we said one of the things that I do, because I'm not just here to talk about paperwork or what the market is doing or interest rates. It goes so much further than that. You become a friend, a confidant at times, and even a counselor. It's like my wife wants this, or my mother, she doesn't want to leave. And so through the years, I've learned that I need to start with the emotional state. I need to start with their pain points. I need to really understand, why do they want that? It's like you mentioned, I would love to, in a few years, leave the state.
Well, not permanent.
No, I know. Hey, listen, we all want to have a Florida connection, or a France connection, or
Right.
So I start at that moment of what what's motivating you. And most of the time, it's really pain, right? It's like
Right.
there's something that's really, really...
My pain is my insurance bill every month that I have to pay.
Yes, yes. So what do you think about, we're going to take a little side note here. So what do you think about Florida and the whole hoopla that we may be getting away from the property taxes? How do you feel about that? I'm curious.
How do I feel about that? Well, that would be a big impact because then I could afford to pay more insurance premiums.
No,
So-
but good or bad?
Good that we don't pay
Yeah.
property taxes? I don't know. I know for me personally, I think it would be good.
Yeah, yeah.
But for long term for South Florida, I don't know how they're going to pay for things, but we don't have income tax as it is, and they're managing to provide nice facilities and services across the state. At least I feel like the state has good facilities. I mean, I look at I guess it depends on how you measure that. One of my measurements when I'm driving through a state traveling is I look at the roads.
Yes.
And the condition of the roads.
Yes.
And if the state can take good condition of the roads, I feel like they can probably take good condition that it goes beyond that emergency services and everything else is always going to be good.
Yeah, that's very smart.
I also look at, I don't know how it is down here in Broward, but if you go look at Palm Beach County, and I think it's a matter of a deterrent is I don't think you can drive down the road more than a mile without seeing a Palm Beach County sheriff car.
Yeah.
And you go to other states, you don't do that. And
At all.
I don't feel like I live in a police state or anything like that. I mean, you go down to Honduras, everywhere you go, there's guys standing around with, shotguns and machine guns. You just go into the convenience store to fill up with gas. There's guys with guns. So it doesn't have that feeling. It was a real shock the first time I went and saw that.
Oh,
it was.
yeah. You're
'Cause they're
right.
not used to that.
Everybody will.
Now I go and I don't even think twice about it. Oh, that's just how it is.
Yeah. And somebody was talking about that in the schools right now. There's certain schools that they're starting to do that here in the U.S. But what you're describing as far as, Palm Beach and how it relates, it's a very smart point about the roads, the infrastructure, and in taxes. And so what some people are not hearing, because again, the headlines are so confusing, but it's not that zero people are going to be paying property taxes. This is specific for homesteaded properties, right? So when you look at the demographics in Florida, we have a lot of people that live here only 2 weeks sometimes, they're only here for 2 weeks. Or 3
months.
Right? And so for the people who are here in Florida, this is their homestead and they're living
What
here
are the
year
requirements
round.
since you can answer this? What's the requirement to homestead?
So the requirements to homestead are very, very simple. You basically, wherever you're living, you will have to give that up. Like you cannot have a homestead. And the term homestead, by the way, is a Florida state thing. Like other states may not have that status, for example. But in Florida, if you're a property owner and you have declared that the home that you're living in is your primary domicile, then that's your homestead. And you can qualify simply by once you close on the property, you go and register. And let's say you're married, you would get $25,000 deducted from the assessed value. You would get $25,000. Your wife would get $25,000 reduction. So it's a total of $50,000 being reduced from the assessed value in the calculation of the taxes. So it really, we do have a break when it comes to, the people that live here. But this would bring relief, I think, to even further. It would be zero. So if you have a homesteaded property here in Florida, then you would pay zero income taxes. Now, there are, I think it's over, we'd have to chat GPT this or Google this, but I think that it's
That's
almost like...
Christian to do. Did he leave?
Yeah, he did. So about... it's between maybe 40% of the people
That's it.
that are not living here, right? So, and there is a surplus. So, DeSantis did say that, there is a surplus that we do have a lot of money. And then there's other ways. And so the idea is that the fact that that cost is still there, the question isn't where's that money coming from? The question is that we're taking it from people who we need them to be using the money for other things. Because if you're a Floridian and you're not paying those property taxes, you're going to do what, you can do a million things with that money, right? It's going to be extra money.
Well,
that
you're not going to move
have.
away.
Well, that's one thing, right? You're going to be incentivized to stay. But imagine how you would maybe improve your property if you had that money, right? Or when we have travel,
Well, you say that, though. I mean, that's thoughts that goes through our heads, right?
Yeah.
As a property owner, it's like, oh, if I do this, I'm going to have to permit that. If I permit it, they actually do look at things when you go and get it permitted. Now that's going to impact your home value.
Yeah.
And so
in
then,
a good way.
In a good way, but then it
Yeah.
also impacts then the amount of taxes that you're going to pay.
Yeah. But then you wouldn't have to worry about that, right? Because
Right.
you're not paying those
So
anymore.
you'd have one less, if you're doing what do you call it? A chart,
comparison,
a comparison. You got one less negative on,
Yes.
oh, well, if I do this home improvement, I'm going to have to potentially pay higher property taxes.
Yes,
now that goes
exactly.
away. And
Like
that's
the
not a
addition that
decision
we
point.
built in our home. Yes, our
Right.
taxes did go up. So I think that there's a lot of positive things, and I think that it's worth to continue looking at it. And what I love is that, and we're going to put a whole series about this. We're going to have a page completely dedicated on educating Floridians so that they're going to be able to have a one source, one place where they can go and not hear a lot of the noise, but really straight signal from the state as to what is happening so that Floridians can vote on it. Because it's not like he can't just say no more taxes, right? I mean, we still have to go through the legislative process in order to make this happen. And so the next step for Floridians is remain engaged, stay informed, and then when it comes to vote, then, vote your opinion, whatever that is. And I trust that Floridians are going to make the right decision.
Right now, you're saying 30%?
30 to 40% is what I'm thinking are people who do not live here
that
year
don't
round.
live here. So the majority of people live here year round are going to be positively impacted by
Yes.
it. Is there a limit to what this property value would be? I mean, are the guys living on the beach in their $150 million home? Are they going to get tax relief?
I know that sometimes I think in today's culture, we tend to want to go there all the time. Like, is it fair? Like I've seen a lot of artists, especially, and people that are themselves in the millionaire category now going after the billionaires. And, I'm going to say I'm not in that camp. I do believe that if we have a perk like that and you're able to extend it to everybody, because let's say that I happen to invent something and become a billionaire in the next year, right? And I'm going to say, well, why wouldn't I? I've worked very hard, or maybe I inherited. Maybe I've never worked a day in my life and I inherited this money and this home. Why shouldn't I? If I live in Florida, this is my homestead, and there's a new rule about property taxes. Why wouldn't I bid? Because the same thing happens. I think that their bill is huge, by the way. If you look at the taxes of the properties that are on the beach, they're huge. They're huge tax bills,
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
What are they going to use? I do believe that people are going to have that more discretionary money to do good things. And if you trust people to do good things, and I know that, again, some people believe that you have to police everything.
I think where I was going, though, where is it in the process of, you're saying this is going to go out to a vote?
Yes, exactly.
So is it across the board? If your property is homesteaded, that's it, no taxes.
I do not know all of the details, and we're just starting now because
so
it's
what's
been
your
a discussion.
website where you're going to have the details?
It's going to be at dawsteam.com.
Okay.
And taxes. So dawsteam.com taxes.
/taxes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people are going to be able to go there and learn.
We'll have to do a follow-up then.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And
I've heard this around. I haven't really paid much attention to it.
Well, at first I thought, how can this be? It's too good to be true. I was like shocked, but then it actually is a thing. It is happening.
Is there enough information out there to know the slant of what people are thinking about this? Are there any other states that have done this?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
I don't know. But I'll tell you what, though.
I'm for it.
So am I. And we're going to do our research. Like I don't have answers, but let me tell you, I
don't think that they're going to do this and then let the, emergency services fall apart.
No.
I don't think.
No, I don't.
I think if
so.
they're doing this or doing it informed, I don't think he's just knee-jerk reacting, trying to do something.
Yeah.
I think they're probably also looking at how many properties are out there that are owned by people that aren't occupying them. Now, my question is, how does that trickle down to somebody that say that it's a renter?
Well,
because then now they're seeing it a property that's not homesteaded, and they're a renter, and that property owner is having to pay the property tax on it, and so it's impacting somebody that's a renter and saying maybe this is a person that's living here full time working a job.
Well, for a renter, there would be little to no impact from their pocket standpoint, right? Because they're not paying taxes. They may be paying higher rent because the owner has to make sure
absorb that.
Yeah, exactly. So if anything, I think that it would maybe allow. But remember, though, if they're renting, that property is not homesteaded.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah?
Right. Yeah. If they're renting, it's not homesteaded.
Okay. So
it can't be.
So
because it has to be owner occupied.
Exactly. So then if it's a homestead, then the taxes remain and the renter is going to continue to pay what they're paying.
Right.
Yeah.
Because right now the rents down in Miami are crazy high.
And you know what? It's interesting because depending on who you talk to, and I know a lot of people that have a lot of rentals in Miami that the prices have gone down. So even though it feels like, but the data is showing that the rentals in Miami have gone down because we have an inordinate amount of Airbnbs, and so many people in 2021 came to
Florida.
Yeah, came to Florida. But not only that, though, there's so many people that bought property specifically to Airbnb it, do overnight. And Dade County is very liberal about that. So there's a lot of properties. And so in the further you go north, we have properties that we were renting for $7,000, and the owners were struggling to get those rented at $4,000. So there has been decidedly there has been a shift downward when it comes to prices and when it comes to both for rentals and also there's certain pockets. We have to talk street by street. We can't really do broad, especially Florida. If you're in Brickell, if you're in Coral Gables, right? If you're in Coconut Grove, so different pockets are going to be their own world, and they're going to have that premium price that you're describing. But the average person, Kendall, for example, is another one that's kind of shot up. Doral, but there's other pockets that they're struggling. So people that bought properties thinking, oh, I'm close enough to downtown or I'm close enough to Miami Beach, they're struggling to get the rents that they thought they were going to get because they overpaid.
And that's what they base their purchase decision on. Yeah,
so they overpaid in 2021 for those properties, and they probably paid a premium up to 30%. Higher, and now we've had those prices have definitely gone down, and another thing that we see is that people are waiting. Again, we were talking about preparation versus feeling safe, right? And so if you're prepared and you're not waiting for the market to give you permission, then you're going to be able to make a lot better decisions. And that was a total emotional thing that happened in 2021. I'm just thinking
that whole preparation thing also probably plays into the purchase decision to start with.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
You might not have gone forward with it in 21.
If you would have known where you're standing, right, and what the outlook is in the future. And so what we want to do is we don't only want to look at the market, we also want to look at your long-term goals and what do you want to do with that property. And so for every person is different. And I love comparing it to, I imagine going to whether it's London or Milan and going and having a suit made. Like you can go to Macy's and get a pretty decent Armani suit, It's going to look good. But imagine that you have the privilege of walking into an Italian dressmaker, right? A tailor, and he's going to measure you, and that suit is going to fit you like a glove. And so I love thinking about what we do in that manner, because when we sit down, I'm not going to be talking, I'm not going to look at the headlines. I'm not going to be looking at anything except what's going on in your situation. And it starts with what is the emotional drive? Like what are the pain points? What are the fears? What are your goals, right? A year from now, and everything went absolutely wonderful. Where are you? What does it feel like? What do you see? Who's there? Where are you, right? So we talk about those things, and then based on that, now we say, whatever your financial situation is, we want to look at that from A to Z. Like, and very honestly, right? Because one of the things that I never want my clients to do is be overextended, where because they were not thinking, right, 3-4 steps ahead, that's my job, they made decisions that they ended up regretting.
Right, because the banks will definitely give you the money and let you overextend.
Yes, absolutely. And you know
even though what was it? Was it 2008 that they?
Yeah.
So
2000 and
leading up to 2008, you could just go in with your signature and get a mortgage. You could be working at McDonald's and go buy a $500,000 house when you had no business buying a $500,000 house. But even since then, and they've changed a lot of the rules, I feel like they're still willing to give you way more money than you actually should probably take out.
You're absolutely right. That goes with credit cards. It goes so now, and I remember during that time, that was a very interesting time because there were people that I did business with, title lenders. People went to jail, and like during that period of time.
Oh, really?
Yes, they went to jail, and so what was going on?
Because they knew that they were doing things that were probably
not. Part of it, and I knew some of these people. They were in the title industry and some in the lender industry. And they were trying to help people, really. I don't, but there's a little bit of greed in everything. I would think, listen, we work, we want to get paid, right? And when there's an opportunity to make money and then you're helping somebody else, but they definitely crossed the line. And so what was happening is that there were certain people that were basically colluding, whether it was the agent, the title, and the lender, and creating a story for a buyer that wasn't real. And so they got the home. For a lot of people, listen, if you didn't default, then I guess nobody got caught, but the truth of the matter is that if that person was overburdened, right, and they had no business buying that home and they ended up defaulting, and now there's that ripple effect of how could you have ever gotten an approval on a loan, right? How did you get to this point? And then if that person says, well, so-and-so said that I could qualify, they helped me. And so people went to jail. And so in the 2000s, all the way up to 2008, very, very painful. But here's another thing. That was another cycle. It was another opportunity. And so the same thing happened. People felt that they wanted to get that permission, right? We were talking about that. They wanted to get that permission that things were safe because they're like, well, am I going to lose my job? Am I going to, because everybody's like the end of the world. And you know how the headlines are, right? It's like, that was the beginning of clickbait. Like,
I get lots of text messages from a particular friend of mine telling me about how the market in Florida is going to completely tank.
Exactly.
And I try to tell them, I go, it might get depressed a little bit.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to tank.
Yeah. But think about it this way. If you're a homesteader and the values tank, let's say that it does happen. Okay. So what are your choices? You stay in your home, right? Or if you have to, you take whatever money they're going to give you, and then you adjust where you're going with the new budget that you have. But for most people, like myself, we lived through that. And even though, thank God, my husband he comes to me one day and he says, we had an investment property in Andrews Gardens. And he said, we have to sell this home. And this was before it was doom and gloom. So everything was fine. As a matter of fact, we sold that property at the top of the market. I do believe it was a godsend that he just felt like, we needed to sell that property then. And we did. We sold it at the top of the market. But our home, we didn't sell it at that moment. We didn't have to. And so for people that don't have to sell, you just kind of wait, and your property is going to increase in value slower. And then, but these cycles are going to come. They're going to come. They do come every 10 to 15 years. So right now what's happening is we are in a more of a, and some people say it's not a buyer's market either. It's not a seller's market, but I do believe that we are in a better
because the growth
buyer's
is
market.
very slow. So
yeah, but compared to where we've been in the last 15 years, we have a very, very unique opportunity because we have a lot of inventory. Homes are staying on the market for a very long time, over 100 days.
That's been the measurement that this person's quoting as saying that the market's depressed, but but I'm not seeing the prices drop drastically, even given the days on market. I'm not seeing a drastic drop in the actual values on what. Now, there's a home that sold pretty low in my street just recently, but then I remembered, I want to say, I don't know for sure, but I highly suspect it's an estate situation. Well, when you get in an estate situation, I just want to touch on this if you don't mind.
No,
I know we're going all 20 different directions.
I love it.
But when you're in an estate situation, if I'm an owner of a property that's in an estate that I'm going to benefit from or I'm managing or whatever, I've also got to look at what's the carrying cost of this. And dropping the price $50,000 isn't crazy if your home's in an HOA and you got to pay HOA fees every month, you got to pay lawn and maintenance every month, you got to keep the house clean for the showings, and you're not there to do it. So now you're having to pay someone. Guess what? It's a little bit and if the house still has debt against it, you're also then paying the interest on it. So it's not really hard to start adding up $2,000-$3,000
exactly
a month in expense to where, it kind of makes sense to drop the price $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 from what maybe top of market would be. I mean, they got what I would feel is mid-market price. It wasn't a fire sale, but it wasn't, they didn't get top dollar, but then they're probably looking at this from what's it costing us every month for this to sit on the market? And this isn't a property that we're using. Now, if it's a property you're living in, that's a whole different set of considerations, right?
Yeah. But here's the upside to that. And I always tell people that's why you buy when you are ready. You sell if you have to, right? Because if you are selling and you're getting a very, very low price, chances are you're buying also at a very low price, right? So then you get the benefit if you're doing both a buy and a sell.
Right.
So that kind of evens out because you're like, I'm getting an amazing deal. I'm buying and it's an amazing price. And I didn't get as much as I would, but I'm also, compensating on the buy side. And so being prepared, but let's say that you only have to, and you mentioned the estate, right? You don't live there. And you're seeing all these fees come up, and again, thinking about that very carefully and having somebody to assist you with that, because part of that preparation is having someone that is doing this. Imagine how you set up all these cameras, and exactly, like if somebody comes in here and they look at these cables and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Right.
I've had people tell me like, how do you know what cable goes where?
Yes. Right. And so, but for you and, and I've done this, I've done all these productions, when you know what to do, if someone,
it's second nature.
Exactly. You're doing it every single day. And because I'm not emotionally attached to it, I can give, good
that
advice,
guidance.
Come up with a strategy that is going to be good for you right now.
And point out these things like, you're asking $100,000 more and you're trying to get the top dollar. Have you considered what your carrying costs are?
Yeah.
Because nobody's using this property. It's sitting empty.
Yeah, exactly.
And, I mean,
because most people, they're making those decisions they're in a capsule.
And guess what? They, that person might have died or maybe they've been in a situation where they have to get care all the time.
Yeah.
So they've got all these emotions, whether let's say they're still alive, but they had to get moved into a facility.
Yeah. Oh,
that's
and this happens all the time.
It's happening all the time, right?
Yeah.
And it's a ton of emotions weighing on your mind.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom went in the hospital for 4 days and it was like an emotional toll.
Yeah.
And she's fine.
Wow.
She's doing well. And imagine if it was not that outcome.
Yeah.
I mean, I was already a mess just with it being a good outcome.
Yeah.
It's.
And I'm glad you bring that up because one of the things that propelled me to do things a certain way was helping people in those situations probate, I teach a lot about, how to avoid probate, because if only we had these conversations more often. It's like my husband jokes and he says, 10 out of 10 people are going to die. Those are the statistics.
Right, yeah.
10 out of 10 people are going to die.
You can guarantee
so now, do we have a plan so that, when this happens, we're not going to be surprised and somebody's not going to get this property and we don't know where things are. We don't know where the documents are. We don't know what to do. And it immediately goes into a probate mode. And in our estimation, you will be spending a minimum of $25,000 to put it through the easiest probate process that you can find.
Really? That much? I did not know that.
And then it takes time, right? Because you said you're holding onto the property. It's sitting there empty, potentially, and you have all the expenses. You still have to pay taxes and you have to maintain it and so on and so forth. So you have those expenses, and then you have all the expenses of the attorneys to basically handle everything else, handle the estate and figure out.
Hopefully the state has funds that can pay all that without getting access.
Yes, exactly.
Because the house is tied up.
Exactly.
So if the house is the major asset.
Which is a catch-22, right? You need the money.
But you don't have it because it's tied up into the house.
Yeah, so you need to sell it to pay so it is possible to do it, and we have done that. But here's what I would love to happen is that anybody at any point in time, but definitely if you're in your 40s, right? If you're in your 40s, you should be talking about these things with your parents, with siblings. What do we do in the event, right? And by preparing and having a plan, then that gives you confidence. And that's what I love doing that, because I've been with people that one particular gentleman right over here in Coral Ridge, that it was so tragic because he had cancer. He had been, the one sister had been helping him, had been by his side. The other siblings were, MIA. And so when he passed away, she thought that, it would only be fair because she had basically lost her job and this and that. So she felt that, she should be able to have more input. And then the siblings were basically, well, no, actually, this is going to be split 3 ways. And they ended up getting into a big family feud. And it was so painful. It was painful that she lost her brother and she had to go through all of this. And now she's losing her other siblings because they're in a battle. And she was completely 100% in an emotional state. So these are the kinds of things that have kind of, shaped me as a realtor, because I realized that what we do is so much more than a transaction and contracts and stuff like that. It's like when people are in these situations, how do we avoid them? And I'm all about preparation, right? So how do we avoid? So having that conversation about what happens and how do we prepare? And you'd be surprised that the cost to prepare is going to be a fraction. It's going to be a fraction of going into that probate situation.
So you mentioned that fee of $25,000. I'm curious, is that tied to the value of the property, or that's just
in general?
That's just tied to
condo. It could be a little condo.
The hours that attorneys are going to be involved in. So whether it's a $100,000 property or a $100 million property, it's still the same amount of effort to work it through the system. Exactly.
And you have also the cost of the home and maintaining the home and all of this, and then going through.
You're including that in that $25,000 price?
Yes,
okay, so your HOA fees and maintenance and taxes and insurance, because you can't let it go.
It's not going to be a 30-day process, right? It's not going to be a 30-day process. And usually,
I want to say I talked to somebody recently. I want to say it was a year.
Yeah. In general, I'm going to say that, because what happens most of the time is that this situation brings the emotions in everybody, and there's usually not one person. So you have other family that needs to get involved, and that's where time will it will drag on, because maybe they're not local, maybe they're angry, maybe they don't communicate. And so this is life. Like, this is going to happen. It's very likely. So if 10 out of 10 people die and we're not preparing for one of our loved ones to die, then we're not prepared.
I'll just share a story. So my grandmother's estate with my mother, her mother, there was, you know, a bit of a battle between it. And then I finally decided to step in and get involved. And I had another attorney look at it for me to say, okay, I want to hear a third uninvolved party.
Yeah.
What do you think's going on here? Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And he's like, there's not really much going on. They just need to agree to agree. And they've essentially already did that. And so
or disagreed.
But in this case, they actually
agreed,
were like in agreement, but they couldn't get, like, they were stuck. So it's like they wanted to disagree.
Yeah.
But they you know, they're splitting hairs over.
Yes.
So they're splitting hairs. They basically agreed up to a point, but they're splitting hairs over basically fighting over $1.
Yeah.
Like,
Listen,
sometimes literally $1, not $100, not $1,000.
It can be furniture.
Some small little thing.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly the details. So I finally go back to my mom's attorney. I'm like, dude, what's going on here? What is this? I go, you know, my aunts and uncles on both sides of this issue, there was a few of them that weren't in the best of health. I go, this needs just to get done. Yeah. What can you do to just move this ball and get it into the end zone?
Yeah.
He's like, I'll make it happen. And so within like a few weeks, he did.
Good.
And got it done. But it was just, I think it was this thing of, it's amazing. They're just like stuck. They were like, they were in agreement, but they just didn't want to admit that they could agree.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how to explain it.
Well, I'll explain it for you. And we were talking about this earlier, is that logic has nothing to do with how people make decisions. And we make that mistake. We think that you think that things would be made based on a system or logic, but that's not the case.
It's a reptilian brain, right?
Yeah. And you know what? It's true, not just in real estate, but it's true in just about everything in life. And that's why, and especially now that we have more information than ever, we have what I call, you know, noise. You've probably heard noise and signal, right? Noise and signal. And so we have more noise than ever before. And I'm thinking, you know, young kids should be the most intelligent, but intelligence has nothing to do with a lot of information. I know some people are concerned with ChatGPT, AI, and all of these things. And, you know, we're early adopters of technology. We always have been, we always will. And what I tell people is someone still has to do the prompts. And I can prove it to you. I can go toe to toe with any AI. And we are smarter. We are definitely smarter. But what we need to do is we need to slow things down. And there's a proverb that says that in the council of many, and I'm going to add there wise people, right? Because you can be in a council of a bunch of derelicts, you know, or your posse when you're a kid and nobody's coming up with any good ideas. But in the council of many who are wise, there is victory, right? And so in order for us to be prepared to make good decisions, to know what is noise and what is signal, what we need is, we don't need more information, right? Because it's like somebody says to me, like, Todd can do designs and he can do so many beautiful things. And they're like, oh, you know, he's cheating. He does it in the computer. He was doing everything by hand. And he was like, you know, he got the first Apple computer. He had it from like the first version, right, of it. You can give me all of the most incredible computers that you have, and I would never be able to do what he does. And so the difference is, again, it's that
Todd
human.
Is
so Todd, my husband and partner,
is an artist.
He's also a creative person, and the pluralist that we were talking about the other day. And he is a creator. At birth,
and generous.
Yes.
I had him look at some of my art for me to help me make a choice.
Yeah. And
he was nice enough to give me his opinion.
We always talk about, I feel, you know, and I think I may have mentioned, I feel like the luckiest realtor on earth that we have someone of his caliber with his art director and art ability to be doing all of our marketing. And, you know, he's also an amazing realtor because, again, I do believe that everybody that is in the service industry is about really connecting and connection. And when he's going to go show a property or he's going to meet clients without me, I usually say, "Oh, you're going to love him. He's the fun one," because I tend to be so process, very process involved, but always I'm listening with the heart, and I'm always thinking about, what does this look like in terms of strategy, right? What do we have to do? And because I'm going to say I'm a mom, I'm a pluralist. Like I say, we've had to do all these different things, wear these different hats and do it well. I'm thinking like a mom. I'm thinking like a daughter. I'm thinking like a caretaker. I've had to take care of an ailing parent. I've had to deal with disease and cancer and death and all this other stuff. So all of that comes together to be able to do so much more. And we can be talking about real estate, but it's really about people. It's really about life. It's really about your dreams.
Well, and that's why I do this, and that's why I wanted you to be here too, because I feel like people can pick any real estate agent they want out there. If there's anything I learned, it was with the headshots, right? I was, I'm not Peter Hurley yet. Still, people were willing to hire me to take their headshot. Why? And you wouldn't believe how many people, like, I'd post stuff on LinkedIn and people were like, "Yeah, I hired you because of that."
Yes.
It wasn't necessarily, so, it was learning that people weren't going to hire me because I'm the best of the best of the best. I mean, there's obviously a certain bar you have to meet. As an agent, you have to obviously, you have a certain duty to do what you need to do. But then beyond that, what separates you from everybody else?
Yeah.
And usually it's just that, I guess it's as simple as personality and learning who you are and how you're going to work with people.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it really comes down to.